So many families are sifting through the rubble that was once their home. We met the Dotsons of Estacada last week.
There's nobody to be mad at. I mean, wish we would have taken more stuff.
Retrieving belongings can be a daunting task and a potentially dangerous one, according to the Department of Environmental Quality.
We're really urging people to not disturb the ash and fire debris on their properties.
Laura Gleim of the DEQ says hidden in the rubble may be asbestos, toxic chemicals, and electrical hazards, among other things.
The state of Oregon has requested federal assistance to come in and clear off properties so that people can begin rebuilding.
Gleim is well aware that not everybody will wait for that federal assistance before rebuilding. She's pleading with people heading back to their properties to do so safely.
Wear protective gear, including boots and goggles and a properly fitted N95 or KN95 respirator.
Safety is the key as families return home in the wake of wildfires that left behind immeasurable devastation.
It's still a dream, a nightmare that I hope to wake up from, but probably gonna still be the same outcome.
Laura Gleim says something else to keep in mind: do not use leaf blowers or anything similar at these properties, as they could stir up ash and particles that could be dangerous. We'll have additional safety tips on our website, kgw.com. I'm Mike Benner for KGW News.